Avoid being slammed by that huge body, and taking severe wounds. I'm not like those mooks. Aria waited until Hamsuk drew near, then slid to the side, without moving his legs. This was the effect of Shikuchi Kai, an improved version of the martial art, Shikuchi. The basic, Shikuchi, was a martial art that could only be used to shorten the distance to one's foe, but Shikuchi Kai could be used to freely move in all directions. Sliding around without moving one's legs was quite creepy, but very practical. Large movements when dodging destabilized one's body. But one could avoid that with Shikuchi Kai. In other words, one could convert a defense to an attack while maintaining a stable center of gravity. Ye art. He swung his sword Goawarg. But Hamsuk's body caught up, breaking Aria's slash and sending him flying. It felt very hard. What looked like soft fur was as hard as metal. To Aria, it was like being hit by a wrecking ball. The impact blanked his mind out for a moment. As he crashed heavily to the ground, he subconsciously confirmed that he could still move. While he had been bruised and contused, he had no broken bones and so on. He could still fight. However, the twin facts that he was rolling around on the ground, and that he had disgracefully taken an attack from the enemy almost made him go berserk. However, Aria the warrior reprimanded himself. Now was not the time to be thinking of that. As Aria rose to his feet, he had already grasped Hamsuk's position, and this time he pointed his sword forward, bracing his sword to take his opponent's charge. A slippery fluid flowed from his nose. He wiped at it with one hand, and as expected, it was blood. Damn piece of shit. Hamsuk watched Aria rise with calm eyes. The word observing would best describe the expression on its face. Those were not a wild beast's eyes which said, "Can I eat this? Can I beat this?" but a warrior's eyes, attempting to determine the best tactics from their brief clash just now. You're using me as a touchstone for a magical beast's growth as a warrior? While it upset him, the sequence of events just now had forced him to acknowledge that his opponent was no mere beast. The attack just now had been a snap reaction to realizing that Aria had circled around itself, a leaping tackle that had struck home. While the attack itself had not been that strong, the fact that it could respond immediately was surely due to training. I see, so if I keep fighting at a slow pace like this, I ought to be able to win. Ah, I pray thee pay it no heed. This one hath never before seen a human being who could overcome this one. If you want to talk big, how about waiting until after you've seen this, huh? Unlike a mere beast, warriors can use martial arts. He had thought he could win easily, so he had not used them. However, he no longer had the luxury of arrogance. Martial art. Ability boost. Greater ability boost. These martial arts were his pride and joy. Greater ability boost, in particular, was a martial art that someone of Aria's level should never have been able to learn. But I learned it, so I'm a genius. I really am very strong. He swung the sword in his hand. The blade was light and his movements were smooth. The sword moved as he imagined it. Aria smiled thinly. Now it would be his turn to shine. This one remembers that one should keep a distance when one cannot gauge an opponent's strength, right? But this one must also face battle as a warrior. Alas, it cannot be helped. Hamsuk used 2 legs to walk over, step by step, until it was before Aria's eyes. This one wishes to fight in close quarters. Wilt thou accede to this one's request? Don't look down on me, beast. The moment it entered his attack radius, Aria swung at his foe. Hamsuk used its sharp claws to fend off the sword strikes that had been made with the aid of an augmented body. No, it tried to fend it off, but it had not succeeded completely. The blade had run over its arm. However, the force of the blow had been dissipated, and it could not tear through its sturdy hide and slice open the muscles beneath. Aria did not pull his sword back, but thrust at Hamsuk's eyes. Some magical beasts had a protective film on their eyes which could repel insufficiently sharp blades, and some warriors could use ki or an aura to deflect the strikes of an amateur. However, Hamsuk did not seem to have such defensive abilities. Therefore, Hamsuk would not let Aria's attack strike it. Hamsuk's body whirled, and as it evaded the thrusting blade, its tail ripped through the air and struck at Aria. Aria blocked the blow with his sword. An unbelievable impact numbed his arm. Gworg. Hamsuk's body once more became a spinning blur in his field of vision. That meant that the same attack would be coming again. Aria leapt back. He had roughly grasped the length of the tail. After the tail passed by, he would use Shikuchi Kai to charge back into close quarters with the enemy. Just as it was about to flash past his eyes, the tail suddenly stopped. HNGGG. It had been a feint. Hamsuk used this opening to regain its balance, and it pulled its tail away at the same time. Aria frowned, having lost the chance to close the distance with Hamsuk. The tail's movements were completely different from those of the body. It was not a rat's tail, but a serpentine tail like that of a chimera. It could move independently. So its tail can move freely, is it? Aria altered the information on Hamsuk in his head as he rushed into its embrace. Hamsuk had been waiting for this, and it responded to the attack. Blade and claw crossed, and the fresh blood flying through the air came from Aria. Hamsuk could attack with both claws, and so he could strike more frequently than Aria, who only had one sword. Close combat was not favorable to him. His bodily attributes might have been improved, but Hamsuk was still superior. In that case he used Shikuchi Kai to retreat. Since Hamsuk did not pursue. Aria raised his sword, and then swung down forcefully. Void Slash. His slash ripped through the air at Hamsuk. Hamsuk covered its face and braced itself, and its hide deflected the cutting strike. Since it had traveled a long distance, its damage potential decreased as well, and it would be very hard to strike a mortal blow. However, so you can't block this, can you? This is the difference between a man and a mere beast. What a headache this is. He kept on using Void Slash, but Hamsuk's hide was very hard, so breaking through its protection would surely be very difficult. That was why he had to keep using martial arts on its face, which ought to be the least protected. Hamsuk remained in place, covering its face with its forelegs. It spoke through the small gaps between its fingers. Wait. Begging for mercy? An animal is an animal, after all. No, stop bothering this one. I speak of the one within this one's mouth. Ah, what a pain. He did not understand at all. Well, obviously humans wouldn't be able to understand what beasts are saying. That said, it ought to be charging over now. Ah, how annoying. This one shall come at thee. Bring it. Hamsuk lacked ranged attacks, so its options were limited. It would probably try to rush in, but that would suit Aria's purposes just fine. It was difficult for Void Slash to strike mortal blows, so he would have to defeat it with a direct attack. When Hamsuk ran, it did so like a beast, sticking out its face, and during that time, Aria could use a martial art that was more potent than Void Slash to stop its movements. After that, all he would need to do was keep attacking its face and victory was assured. Just as Aria smiled cruelly, certain of his victory, Hamsuk's tail suddenly twitched. Then Abba. The tail moved like a whip, striking Aria's shoulder with preternatural speed. His pauldron dented inward with a scream of tortured metal, as it was crushed with his flesh. The sound of bones breaking crackled up and down his body, and agony flooded his brain like an electric shock. Aria staggered back, in so much pain that he was drooling. The massive, serpentine tail twitched behind Hamsuk. It had become strangely long. This one was saying that this one's tail was too strong. That was why this one wanted to end this in melee combat. This was bad. Aria swallowed a scream. If his enemy tackled him under these conditions, his defeat was certain. You lot. What are you spacing out for? Use your magic. Heal me. Heal me with your magic. Hurry up and help me with your magic, you damn slaves. After hearing her master's order, one of the elves hurriedly cast a spell on him. The pain in his shoulder vanished instantly. That's not enough. Cast strengthening spells on me. Spells to improve one's physical abilities, spells to briefly sharpen one's blade, spells to harden one's skin, spells to improve one's senses. Hamsuk simply watched quietly as countless enhancing spells flew through the air. After being buffed by several spells, the cocky smile returned to Aria's face. Immense strength coursed through Aria's body. He had never once lost after being strengthened by so many spells. It had been the same regardless of the strength of his foes. He swung his blade, which hummed through the air. The blade moved faster than usual. This time, he was certain that he was on an even footing with his opponent, perhaps even faster than him. Humans and beasts have always been separated by the difference in their physical attributes. I've made up for that difference now. This one originally intended to take all of thee on at once, so this was only to be expected, no? Rather, if thou canst fight on even terms now, it would please this one. Bullshit. Aria charged forward. He planned to use the power suffusing his form to crush his foe in one hit, and keep the creature from spouting more nonsense. As he closed in with Shikuchi Kai, he used Void Slash to suppress his opponent. Take this. With a mighty cry, he swung his sword down with all his might. If the creature's hide was thick, then he would simply have to swing harder to cut through it. His blade swung with all his might slash. A slashing attack from above him connected with his arms. Something spun through the air, then landed heavily on the ground. He heard the ear-piercing sound of metal, and a sound like a wet sack splattering on the ground. Aruya could not understand it. His arms, which had still been holding his sword just now, had vanished. Even as blood spurted from the severed stumps in time with his heartbeat, he could not accept reality. Agony coursed up from his arms. Some distance away, his arms fell to the ground, still holding onto his sword. Only after seeing that fact did Aria finally grasp what had just happened. He stumbled back from Hamsuk and screeched, "My arms, my armsums. Heal me, hurry up and heal me. Hurry." The elves did not move. The silent glee of the tormented lit up their clouded eyes. Marvelous. A resounding success. This one can use martial arts. Now my lord shall surely lavish praise upon this one. Aruya wailed hoarsely. In this world where creatures stronger than humanity roamed, adventuring meant that pain was a constant companion. Aruya had experienced many sorts of pain. He had been struck by lightning, burned with fire, froze by cold, his bones had been broken, he had been mauled, slashed and bludgeoned, but through it all, he had never lost his weapon. That was only common sense. In this world, releasing one's weapon indirectly equaled death. No, he was confident that as long as he held his sword in his hand, he could overcome any difficulty. And in this moment, his self-confidence was shattered. This was the first time in his life Aria had taken such a great blow. My arms. Hurry. Fresh blood kept spraying, and his body started turning cold from the wounds out and became heavy. As they heard Aria's pitiful screaming, the elves were all smiles. Just as Aria was at a loss to describe the emotions bursting in his heart, a voice bearing a hint of kindness reached his ears. My thanks to thee. This one does not delight in tormenting others, so I shall dispatch thee forthwith. There was a whoosh. A moment later, something hit Aria's face. The pain was such that he even forgot about his arms, as though his entire being had been shattered. That was the last burst of agony Aria experienced in his life. The corpse with the half-smashed face collapsed to the ground with a thud. Hamsuk nodded, and then backed off. If it stood by the corpse, they probably would not dare approach the man's body. While the elves looked like magic casters, they might come at Hamsuk with swords like this man. Hamsuk did not wish to stop them from doing so. All right, wilt thou not come at me? After leaving the corpse, Hamsuk began to speak, but its words trailed off. That was because the elves were giggling as they kicked the body of the warrior, who should have been their ally. But why? Is this how elves enter the deceased? It tried to articulate its words, but the feeling was completely wrong. That was because there was a look of delight in their darkened, cloudy eyes. No matter how one looked at it, it could not be anything other than malice. Oh, what a headache. Hamsuk had used the techniques it had been honing until today upon the intruder, in order to show the fruits of its training. It had only fought for that reason, but would attacking a non-hostile opponent truly count as showing the results of its training? Hamsuk hoped that they would challenge it, at the very least. Apparently, all one needs to do is to give verbal provocation. But what manner of provocation should I use? This one does not understand, it cannot be helped. I shall wait for my lord to contact me. Oh yes, it turned back, to the lizard men who were rating its performance. Zariusidano, how was it? Did this one pass muster? Yes, you did very well. You definitely used a martial art just now. The lizard man who had tutored it in warrior techniques nodded, and Hamsuk smiled broadly. How wonderful. Will it be armor lessons after this? Yes. We'll start from light armor, and then slowly go heavier. Hamsuk had not been able to wear armor until now, because wearing armor made it thoroughly uncomfortable, and it could not move freely. Normal movement and running were fine, but once it entered battle, it lost its balance when swinging its tail, and it could not accurately strike its target with its tail. Therefore, it had taken the lizard men as its tutors, and trained as they directed. This Hamsuk shall become stronger for the sake of my lord, so my lord will look upon me with different eyes. But how much longer must this one practice before this one can count as a full-fledged warrior? Hamsuk shall be a warrior. Well, I'd say you could be a warrior in 1, maybe 2 more months, Hamsuk-san. That's so far off. I feel it's already been going very fast, Hamsuk. Normal people take a year before learning martial arts. From that point of view, you've grown fast enough, added Zenbru, the lizard man standing beside Zariusu. Is that so? Indeed. You've fought live battles and been healed for your wounds, then enhanced with support magic, and made to fight enemies stronger than yourself in death battles. After that hellish regime, you've made quite a lot of progress. Hamsuk's body trembled. The 2 lizard men trembled as well. They all recalled the training they had received. I pray that our next training session will not call the word death to this one's mind. Personally, I think you grow stronger more easily when you fight on the edge of life and death. That's just a personal opinion though. Besides, it would be a bit of a shame if our newly wedded husband lost his life in training. Oh. Indeed, thou art wed, are you not? Yes. That's because she seems to be with child. That's an excellent warrior for you, he's got good accuracy. How many shots did it take? 2, 3 maybe. Zariusu punched Zenbru on the shoulder. Enough idle talk, let's start training. What should we do about the elves over there? Let's leave them there for now. The elves which had been kicking and beating the corpse sank into a sitting position on the ground, like puppets whose strings had been cut. Hamsuk could not sense any will to fight from them. Therefore, Hamsuk decided that unless his master gave the order, or they tried to flee, he would leave them alone. Clone. New paste. Few persons can be made to believe that it is not quite an easy thing to invent a method of secret writing which shall baffle investigation. Yet it may be roundly asserted that human ingenuity cannot concoct a cipher which human ingenuity cannot resolve. Edgar Allan Poe. 186,266 pastes opened. Based on an original idea from sebsavage.net. Sam and Max.